Okay, my buddy Stan here has a 2021 Tracer GT. I've got the 2018 Tuono. We're gonna swap and tell you how we feel about each one of them. Okay, so my buddy here, Stan, and we just swapped bikes. So Stan's got a 2021 Tracer 9 GT. What are the specs on that, Stan?
It's basically a 889cc inline 3, liquid cooled, with 115 horsepower and 69 pound-feet of torque.
Okay. And my Tuono, 2018 Tuono, 173 horsepower and 89 newton meters of torque. Lots, you know, I've done a few reviews and compared my bike with others, so you can check that out on my channel. But yeah, this one's about swapping. And we swapped and we're on a road trip now, but we did a 100-mile stretch of just like gorgeous roads.
Oh, yes.
Twisty, sweepers, straights, so it was the perfect road to test out the two. So yeah, we want to give you our honest opinion between the two, just ride or review. Why don't we start with your review of the Tuono?
Yeah, well, it's been a few years since I've been on a sport bike. And all I can say is as soon as I hopped on, it brought a smile to my face, grinning
Yes.
ear to ear.
It's hard to resist, yeah.
The two things I noticed immediately was the V4 engine.
Yes.
Very torquey, lots of power. As soon as you twist the throttle, the power delivery is right there.
It's effortless,
And,
right?
Yes. And the stiffness of the suspension. Oh, like, well, I mean, compared to mine, you could tell it's very track focused, and
Yeah.
it just carves the corners, very stable and high through the turns and high speed.
Right. One thing I've always I love my bike for the handling, that's for sure. But on the negative side, it's got no wind protection. I'm a smaller guy, so it's probably not as bad for me. I want to get your opinion on it. You're 6 foot, right?
Yes, I'm 6 feet.
6 foot. How's the ergos for you and the wind?
Oh, with a 33 inseam, and I would say is bearable for going through the twisties, but for a long haul ride, no, definitely not.
It's a tough one, right?
It's a tough one, yeah. Like my legs are cramped right in there, and yeah, I definitely need a Cairo after a long road
Yes.
trip.
Yes, I'm lucky that I'm a smaller guy, so I can put up with it. But it's still not a great touring bike because of the lack of wind protection.
Yeah.
I put up with it because when you hit the twisties, it's like, oh, all grin again, so you kind of forget about the pain. That's really why I put up with it. But yeah, I think that's the factor that really helps it, is that performance in the twisties. So tell me about the performance on the Tuono. How did you feel about it?
Oh, very, like I said, it's been a few years since I've been on a sport bike, but it just felt like a glove. Like, just when you're carving through the twisties, and it just felt very sure-footed right in the turn.
Yeah.
A lot of confidence. I didn't ever feel like I was out of control. Just
Right.
leaning in, off a seat off the saddle.
Yeah. I think that's the thing for me too, is like you want to be off the saddle. It just makes you want that. And then when I'm in the turn too, it's just like super steady. It gives you so much confidence. I don't know how the Aprilia engineers did that, but it's just super stable, right?
Yeah. Well, like a couple of nights ago, Eric took off on me. I was trying to keep up with him through some sweepers and twisties, and he just shot out like a bat out of hell, and I couldn't keep up with him.
It's so easy on that bike.
And now I realize why, because he's got that torquiness, and once you put on the throttle coming out of a turn, you're out of there. And you know, I lost sight of him. I couldn't catch up to him. Now I know why.
The bike is just excellent for that. You know, you want to, and there's just so much confidence. It's confidence inspiring. It's like it's easy to twist and go. All right, so how about the Yamaha Tracer? Like, I was actually looking at this bike as an all-around tour, and I would say that as an all-around tour, it's awesome. It's a really nice bike. It's super comfortable. Nice big windshield. I'm sitting upright, and it's just so great for, like, if you're on a long trip, mile munching it, perfect bike for it. And the engine itself got a lot of torque, actually. It's 900 cc's, right?
Yep.
Or is it just under 8 something?
Just under 900.
Yeah, just under 900, but you know, I didn't feel like there's a lack of power at all. I was keeping up to you for the most part until Stan got comfortable with mine and then he took off. But you know, enough torque in there to pass, enough torque to enough horsepower to speed up. So it's a great all-rounder bike. Luggage, right? Built-in luggage, rider modes. There's 4 rider modes. There's traction control and all of that stuff.
Yes. Cruise control, heated grips.
Cruise control, yes. Oh, heated grips. I miss heated grips. I was testing it. I think you have cornering ABS, or
yeah,
because I was playing around with it, and it braked fine in the corner. Didn't stand up too much. So those would be the pros. Any pros that you can see for your bike you want to add in?
No, I think you covered everything. Their ergonomics is there. You got the features of the cruise control, heated grips, adjustable suspension, different ride modes. Yeah.
You know, one thing I noticed on your bike, I don't know if the windshield's adjustable. I don't think so, right? It is?
Yes.
Okay, is that the highest setting?
That's the highest setting.
I noticed for me, like you're taller than me, so it might be worse for you. For me, my helmet was being buffeted. So maybe just my height, I've seemed to hit that kind of sweet spot for buffeting. I want to see if at your height, you're a few inches taller. Do you feel that buffeting in your helmet?
Yeah, I noticed a slight buffeting. I've read some online complaints about it. Some people around my height, 6 feet, it doesn't bother some of them, and others it does bother them. So it's just adjusting that the height of this windshield to get that sweet spot.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's what I noticed. But everything else about the ergonomics is great. Let's look at some cons, some negatives here. I think overall, it's if you're looking for an all-rounder, it's awesome. But in comparison to the Aprilia, of course, now we're kind of splitting hairs. I did notice the Aprilia is just so stable. So for yours, I noticed that it's not as sure-footed. Now, it may be because we've got a lot of weight on the back. So you've got hard bags, you've got a top box, so you've got weight there. And I noticed around like 105, 110 miles, the front wheel starts to get very light. But that might be due to the weight. And I'm 130, you're 160, you're 180?
Yeah, 180.
180, so yeah, that's 50 pounds different. So you don't notice it, right?
No, I haven't noticed it. So just before the trip, I had my suspension adjusted for my weight and luggage, which might attribute to why you're feeling a bit light in the front.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, you know, overall, there's really not much more to nitpick about the Tracer 9 GT. I think if you're looking for a sporty touring bike, perfect bike. If you come from a sport bike background like Stan and I, then you really would appreciate the Tuono for the corner carving. And you can do what I did, which is basically just make it touring friendly, but it's not really a touring bike. So kind of two different riders looking for different things between those two bikes. Any last thoughts between any of those two bikes?
I miss riding a sport bike after hopping on your bike. So
that's what happened to me too. My last one was a Hyperstrada, so it was an upright bike, and I just couldn't corner like I do in the Aprilia, so I went kind of back to that and looking for that, not really a sport bike, but with the high bars and put on some bags and stuff, it kind of just did it. But probably not a long trip, maybe a bit of shorter trip, not so fatigue on the body. Hey, one thing that we forgot to do is give you a rating between the two bikes on specific categories. So we're gonna do that now. We're gonna give you a rating 1 to 5 on comfort, handling, power, features. That's about it, I think. We might add one more in there. So why don't you start, Stan? With comfort, what would you give the Yamaha Tracer and the Aprilia Tuono?
for comfort, I would give the Tracer a 4, and I would give the Aprilia a 2.
Okay. I'm curious, what would make your Yamaha Tracer, because it's a very comfortable bike already, in my opinion, what would make it a 5?
Well, for me, to make it a 5, there's probably two points on it. One would be the seating itself. It's got a slight angle forward on it, so it was designed for a more aggressive seating position. So when I compare that with the Ducati Multistrada that I previously had, that was, to me, was a little more comfortable seating position.
Okay, the angle.
And the angle. The other one was on the Tracer, the rear set gives me more of a bend in the knees, whereas in my Multistrada is more of a 90-degree on my knee, so it's more comfortable for long distance.
Curious. Okay, so yeah, for me, I actually would give your Yamaha Tracer a 5 because, well, one, I'm coming from the Tuono, so super comfortable compared to that, and also I'm a smaller guy, so the ergonomics for me would be different. I don't have that bend, right? Being a shorter guy, I don't have that bend issue. And the seat, I guess I don't know any better. Compared to my seat, it's great. It's super comfortable. So I would give your Yamaha Tracer a 5 for comfort. And my Tuono, I don't know if I would even give it a 2, really. Well, yeah, okay. I would give it a 2 because if it's like a sport bike, like any other sport bike, it'd be a 1. But it's not. It's got riser bars. The seat is actually surprisingly, we're doing like 600 kilometers a day, and it's not that bad. I've had worse seats on sport bikes. And the knee bend, the rear set, yes, on sport bikes is more aggressive. So for that reason, I would give it a 2. How about handling? What would you give the 2 bikes?
The handling. I would give a 4 for the Yamaha Tracer. Okay. Given that it's a sport tourer, and I would give the Aprilia a 5, hands down.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with the Aprilia too. That thing is just beautiful in the corners. It's stable. It's confidence inspiring. That's a 5 for me. The Tracer's funny. I wouldn't say it's a bad handling bike. It's a well handling bike. It wants to lean, but I think the subtle difference for me between the Tracer and the Aprilia is that with the Aprilia, when you're leaning, it just wants to stay in that angle that you've set it and just ride it through. Whereas the Tracer, it kind of does, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's not finicky, but like when you lean on it, you gotta kind of like, you can come back up very quickly too, so it's kind of going back and forth. But it's not doing it in a bad way, so it's very hard to explain. It's not the same steadiness and the same stableness as the Aprilia. So, but then it's not like, it would do a corner no problem. It's just kind of just fumbles in between the corners. So for that, I would probably, yeah, give it a 4 because it's not a poor performing bike. It handles very well. But when you can compare between something as good as the Aprilia Tuono, you really know its difference. I bet you before you hopped my Aprilia, you probably thought the Tracer was pretty good, right?
Yes, and then exactly. Well, I mean, once I thought the handling on my Tracer was good, and then once I hopped onto the Aprilia, it was a whole new different world.
Yeah,
right. You can't. I mean, to me, the Aprilia is sort of a track-focused bike. You know, it inspired confidence when I'm going into a lean. It just handles like it's on rails.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, how about power? What would you rate the 2 bikes on power?
The power, well, definitely the Tuono would be a 5. I mean, that V4 engine is just phenomenal. Yeah. The torque was there. I just, it didn't matter what gear I was on. As soon as I turned on the throttle, the power, and I could power out of a turn with no problem. Now with the Tracer, I'd probably, it's a tough comparison. I'd probably just say a 3.
Okay.
It's a 900cc engine.
Yeah.
I mean, overall the power is there, but if I was to compare it with the Tuono, I mean, it's not there, but it's still, I don't know, it's not a knock against it with the 3, because and I was also, my baggage was all loaded up as well too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'd agree with you that it stands on its own. If I was to rate it on its own, I'd give the power like a 4 or maybe even 5, like 4.5, let's say. But when you compare it to a V4 1100cc bike like Aprilia, okay, that's not a fair comparison that way.
Yeah.
Although, if I do factor that in, it's close. Like, given that as a 900 and versus 1100, it wasn't that far off. So maybe for that, I would give power a 4 on the Tracer. The Aprilia, definitely 5. Like that V4, the torque gives me tons of passing confidence. You know, you twist the wrist and it's there.
Yes.
So yeah, that's the power. Now features wise, I guess we didn't really check out the features, right?
I could say the features in terms of like having cruise control on a long ride like this is awesome.
Yeah, definitely need it.
Heated grips when we were going through the mountain passes was good for me.
Right. The Tuono doesn't have the heated grip, so I'm envious of Yamaha on that. There's a whole bunch of other features that we really didn't dive into this review, so we probably won't give it a review, but we should talk about it, right? There's cruise control, like you said, heated grips, anti-wheelie on the Tuono, traction control, cornering ABS. I did check out your cornering ABS. It performed well. Braking was really nice, both I know for the Aprilia Tuono and the Tracer. They were both pretty good. What other features did you have on your bike, on the Tracer?
Got an adjustable windshield on there.
Right, that's nice. I wish I had that.
And well, just having the top box and the side luggage for a trip like this was great.
That's true, yeah, like that's a feature because it's hard case, right?
Yes.
My Aprilia, I had to mod some frames to hold up some soft saddlebags, so it's not really a touring bike, and that's the problem with it, right? So,
yes.
Okay, awesome. So, yeah, I think one other thing that I'd like to talk to, we won't rate it, but you know, I call it character, and that's one thing I've noticed is the bikes I choose, I like character in my bike. And I remember the first time I hopped on my Aprilia, it's like, oh wow, I feel it's just like awesome. There's just a rawness to it. I don't know what it is. And then when I compare it with the Tracer isn't super linear. Like, you know, I hopped on a BMW 1000 XR and it was just too boring for me. It's a fast bike, but it's too linear, too tame, and there wasn't that character to it. Yours on the Tracer, there is a bit of that character. That CP3 engine is nice, but when you compare it to the Aprilia with the pipe and the sound, it's like, oh, there's just, you know, there's a whole other intangible side to motorcycling that I think Aprilia has really hit well. Right?
Oh, definitely. I mean, with that V4 engine with the exhaust, when you turn on that throttle, it just gives you that visceral feeling.
Yeah.
That it put a big smile on my face.
Yeah,
definitely.
That's hard to quantify. Yeah. The Tracer, I guess you have aftermarket pipe, so it's much softer. I'd be curious what it would sound like with an aftermarket pipe, but even the kind of going through the gears.
Oh, with the quick shifts, yes.
Yeah, with the quick shifter. Actually, speaking of quick shifter, both are very nice. I tried your Yamaha and I didn't go from 1 to 2, but I went from 2 to 3, and it was actually pretty smooth. The Aprilia is just as nice. One thing I appreciate with the Aprilia is that when you shift through, it gives a little kind of exhaust blurb to it. It just sounds so nice. It's like you're on a racetrack, like, vroom, vroom, you know?
Oh yeah, when you're rev matching. Yes.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So yeah, those are our ratings, and I hope it helps you when you're comparing these two bikes. All right, I hope that video helped you to decide between the Aprilia and the Tracer. If you want to get more reviews about the Aprilia versus other bikes, I've got a few more on my channel, so you just click and check it out.